Welcome back, guys. So we're going to start a Q&A session. We got a couple of interesting questions on Twitter and YouTube. So we're going to start with the first one that was asked by Jonas X70 on Twitter. And this is for both of you guys. What is your opinion on instant film camera market today?
I admire what has happened in the instant camera market. I think they're a bit in front of the analog film market in a way. It's an easier step for a young person to take to start to buy an Instax and shoot film, or buy a Polaroid and shoot film. So it's they have a greater, bigger mass going on, and a lot of more money than maybe the film manufacturers. But I think it's also maybe a role model in a way that we can actually do things if there's a strong power working on it. In the instant market, there are two big companies basically doing it, so there's a need to work more together, as we are a lot smaller companies in the analog kind of film movement.
Yeah, I guess I agree with you, Holt. Like, I don't shoot a lot of instant myself, and I never have. Free admission, I was not a great shooter of instant film back in the day, because I thought it would be there. I didn't expect it to. Oh God, it's gone. It came as kind of a surprise. I like the fact that Instax has sort of brought a lot of new people to the concept. Although it's a bit different, they brought people to the concept of a form of analog photography. I think it's a very useful tool, and it's certainly a great creative tool. It needs to be expanded on, and it is being expanded on by Polaroid, which was impossible, now Polaroid. I think there's a bright future for that, a very creative future for that. It certainly fits into what we're doing. I have no issue with the idea of working together to build a market with that. I think it's an important aspect of what all of us do.
Yeah, definitely agree with you guys. I think there also a lot of those guys that came to Insta came from Instagram, so that's also something to take into account.
Yep.
So I hope we answer your question, Jonas. The next one, we have two questions from S Baby. I hope I pronounced this right. Ice Baby on Twitter.
Yeah, I know Ice Baby. Hey.
So the first one is, I'd love to know about how trends are creating and influencing new markets.
How trends are creating and influencing. Yeah, well, as we just mentioned with the Instax, you can see the parallels between the presentation of Instagram and Instax. The name, Instagram itself has driven a new market for analog photographers through people becoming interested in processors. I'm not joking, hundreds of messages a week on Instagram, hundreds. And there's loads of them asking, what film was that? What camera was that? How can I learn this? Want to get a camera. So it's definitely this new technology, this new idea, it drives the market for sure. And now you're seeing people who've seen perhaps a filter type or a photo type they've seen on social media and thought, I want to do that, and I can't do it on my phone. So yeah, these are very important parts for this market. Yeah, the way I think it's just brought it to a larger viewer audience.
I think, you answered it great.
Same.
Yeah. So next question from Ace Baby. Since there are no significant new innovation in film, are there any untapped markets that have the potential to really boost the industry to become sustainable in the long term?
According to the results, there is a lot of market coming. There's a lot of young people interested, and now it's basically up to labs or other options to keep costs down if possible by getting volume up. and to create a lot of kind of a community around them. If they're physical or if they're taking by post, then just create an online community around the lab, like many labs already have done. And I think that is the main reason film is kind of coming back this year, is that there are so good labs on social media all around the world that have been posting pictures, have been posting the pictures that professionals have been doing all the time with film, but they don't post them so much or so forth. So social media has a very big role. And the other thing that came up in the questionnaire was the role of emerging markets like Philippines and Vietnam and Indonesia and Brazil that are very interested in film but do not have so much cameras from the late days. So there's also a need to move equipment from the forgotten closets of Europe and Japan and the US.
All the collectors to 30 cameras in store.
To move them to new users that are looking for cameras.
I don't think it's fair to say that there's not much new innovation in film either, because what we're seeing now is photography manufacturers or film manufacturers who have got, yes, they've got a huge backpack catalog of emulsions, but they've also got now the capability to sort of prototype a new emulsion on a computer, develop it on a computer very quickly without any of the hassle that they used to have to go through, the testing, the endless tweaks and changes. They can simulate all of this online. So they can develop new emulsions much easier than they used to be able to. So now the limit is only the chemical composition which is available to them, if they can source the chemicals to manufacture it. So you're going to see innovations in new, perhaps new emulsions, new grains, new styles, and you'll see that with Polaroid. Absolutely, you're going to see new colorways, new ways of presenting it, faster drying. So there are going to be innovations in film, and again, as Juho said, this is going to have an important aspect on the market. It's going to make it easier to develop, easier and faster to have those images, so people find it a more attractive thing. So yes, it is going to definitely drive the market for sure.
Yeah, maybe the companies were holding off to see if it was not just a fashion that will fade, and if it was worth it to invest in creating new.
I don't know if
maybe.
they were sort of holding off. I think they just didn't have the money, and they didn't want to take the risk. And now that money started coming in again, they're like, well, perhaps we can take some baby steps. We can actually put something into this. But also investors and investment companies are starting to see, well, there must be a potential here. Fuji sold X amount of tens of millions of Instax last year. We want in on that. So it's going to happen. Yeah.
The Instax camera were I think the most favorite and preferred Christmas present last year. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't get one.
Me neither. Okay, so next question from Kaylee Boy on YouTube. Can we have an idea of the existence of film for the next 30 years for my children to try it and do film photography?
An idea of the existence of film? Well, absolutely, it will still be available. As again, it's going to change. And this comes down to, and it's something that I don't think everybody realizes, environmental issues. Some of the older films, they use things which were massively, horrifically lethal for us and for the planet, and we can't make them again. We just can't do it. Like, we will kill all of us by making them.
And the chemicals to develop those films
they
as
were
well.
awful. They were just awful. So we have to see how things have changed and how these have caused us constraints. But again, as we develop our understanding of the chemical procedures, we will gain an understanding of more efficient, more ecologically friendly methods of producing film. So yes, it's absolutely going to be available in 30 years' time. Might not be the same film, but it'll still be there.
And the availability of film is coming down to an economical problem. Kodak and Fuji are still kind of fighting it out in the very low end with Color Plus and C200. They're keeping the prices very low so that when you order it as bulk into a store, they're selling it at €1.50 or €1 out of their system, which is working for them because they don't have R&D costs anymore, and then they have the massive machines still running. This is both a very big opportunity because Color Plus and C200 will keep film very attainable or cheap for young people to come in. But once, if they stop or if they change plans or whatever happens to the big lines, it starts to become economically viable for the smaller players to do color film when you can get 3, 4, 5 euros a roll. And it will double the price of the cheapest roll available, but it's not gonna, film is not gonna go away.
It's still accessible. So.
It's still accessible. It's just not so super accessible as it is now. Yeah. Now, yeah.
It can't be economies of scale.
Yeah, and now it is very cheap. So now is a very good time to get new people in because it's so cheap to still in some labs are still cheap and some films are still cheap. So as an entry level kit, it's very good at the moment.
You talked about the machines that are still running, and we have an interesting question from Cameraplex. Hi, Jordan. He is asking us, where are all the machines and infrastructure that made Voigtlander, Bessa, and Fuji? He is saying that they are not that old and wondering if they were purchased, repurposed, or simply trashed.
The manufacturing capabilities for Voigtlander and the Bessa and things like that, well, they're owned by, that's Cosina. That's the Cosina group. Those machines will still be in use for other things, perhaps repurposed. They've not gone away. There is certain licensing constraints that they face, which means certain things can't be made again. They still manufacture lenses, but camera bodies. The reason that camera bodies, Bessa, the Voigtlander bodies, the R2, the Zeiss Icon ZM, they used a Copal electronic shutter, and the license on that expired, so those were no longer allowed to be manufactured. So they couldn't make any more cameras because of a licensing reasoning. So it's not that they can't make the cameras or don't want to make the cameras. They're not allowed to make. They're not able to make the cameras. But that may change.
And who owns this license now? Is they just belong to nobody, or
they belong to somebody?
To somebody.
I'm not at liberty to say, okay. Unfortunately. But they're out there, and the people that hold them are aware that they are needed.
There's potential there. Yeah.
There is potential for sure, and which means there is potential if there is market demand enough, and you can prove that there's market demand enough to a company like Cosina. Then they will start manufacturing cameras again. Of course they would. Yeah. And I would hope that other manufacturers would get in on it too.
And just about that, sorry, you go ahead.
But again, there's an economical problem when Canon AE1s and really good basic cameras are sold under 100 euros with a lens. There is very little point at the moment to do a basic camera. And it has to be a basic camera for there to be volume. So it will happen when the availability of these basic cameras goes down or the price goes up, or both, which will happen eventually. Yep.
So jumping in about the new cameras being manufactured. We have a question from Mika Rotainen. He's asking about the he's asking about the teaser we've been seeing from Yashica. He's asking if there are chances of them making a new analog camera.
No, it's not going to happen.
It's just a
almost
teaser.
Sure. I'm almost sure it's not going to happen. It was a teaser video for an iPhone camera adapter.
That's why they were showing the iPhone
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
video. Yeah.
It's an investment company in Hong Kong that owns the rights to the Yashica name. Yashica itself as a company no longer exists. You know, it's a name, and it's the same as other companies did with Polaroid. It's a name. They've taken that name. They've used the heritage behind the name. You'll see it with watch companies. You'll see it with car companies. You know, let's bring this back, dust it off. Yes, we can make some money here. I don't know if they're actually planning on making an analog camera, and if they were, absolutely commendable, wonderful. If you need some help, drop me a line, you know. But I'm pretty much sure it's going to be a iPhone clip-on.
That's going to disappoint a lot of people.
Yeah, the video, if you watched it closely, it had a Yashica GSN that she pointed at herself, and the shortest focus distance on that camera is like 1.5 meters. So it was out of focus, and I mean, yeah. Unless she's the biggest Asian woman we know.
Maybe the subject was behind her. We don't know.
Yeah. Maybe she was. Yeah. But that would point out to the wide-angle selfie thingy that they were also had on their website.
Sorry, guys, the Yashica is not making a new camera.
We're
don't know,
not 100%
but,
sure, but it definitely didn't look like it.
Okay, and we are getting to the last question of this Q&A session. I kind of made up this question, but it's going to interest a lot of people, I'm sure. So we've seen a lot of interesting project about new film cameras being developed, like with the Ponf camera from Raffaello Palandri, and a more recent teaser we've seen with the reflex camera. This is being driven by Lawrence Van Thomas. And both of those cameras seems to have a modular design. And my question is, do you think the modularity is the key to make a successful camera today?
I don't think it's a key. I mean, if you would want to be really, really go the easy way, you would, well, I'm not gonna say what you should do because we might do it. No, no. But modularity, I guess everyone who wants modularity will end up finding themselves shooting large format. So, and there are plenty, and they have plenty of users doing or companies doing large format now. So it sounds good, and it has a great market potential if you do that, but I don't know if it's a requirement in any way.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. There's complexities. The more systems you add to a camera, the more complex you make the camera, the more things will go wrong. And they will go wrong. It's a precision instrument and people don't treat them well. It will go wrong. So they have to be aware of that and they have to take that into account, which I'm sure they have done. I don't think it's necessarily a key. Because, you know, when I put out just the question on the site about what would you want in compact camera, everybody was like, yeah, fixed lens, 28mm, compact camera,
simple as
ISO
it can be.
selector, autofocus with a flash. Keep it simple, make it work forever. Make sure it never breaks down, and I'll buy 10 of them. You know, so there's something to. But maybe that's my followers and my readers, and they're different from other people who do want a modular system. I never got into modular system cameras because there was just too many variables. I couldn't control what I wanted, but for other people, that's the attraction, you know.
And that's kind of, again, the problem of making a new camera is that the second-hand cameras have such a large scale of different things you can have and buy, and there's still pretty much everything is cheap enough. Something like a Hasselblad X-Pan is getting pretty high, and a Plauvel 6.7 is getting pretty high, and there are some cameras that are getting pretty high, but they haven't even reached the price they used to sell when they were new. Not even new in box items. That's something I tend to forget, because I've been in the analog scene since 2000 yeah, well, the compact cameras are going over, but I've been since the 2006-7 kind of, so in the price market. So for me, the prices have been going up all the time. But then, if I would have been knowing the prices since '98, then everything still would seem cheap compared to what you had then. So yes, that's a part of the reason why modular camera is what people are thinking of, because there's so much choice and you have to compete against the choice. But it's maybe kind of a Microsoft versus Apple question. Will the company tell the people what they want, or will they just give them something, everything, and yeah.
That's all for the question I've gathered online. Any of you guys have any question in the audience? No, we've answered everything, I think. Yeah, we've covered it all.
Emulsive said that the lens thingy for Yashica, it was released in July, and it was just a blogger that posted it on Analog Scene like last week, and
I saw it back in July.
Yeah.
And you said nothing.
I didn't even share it online. I didn't even look at it. I looked at it and went. I watched the video, looked at the website, checked it out. Couldn't find any Japanese on there, which made me instantly suspicious, because any Japanese company always puts Japanese page. Couldn't find any Japanese. Just went no, it can't be. And then oh look, it's an iPhone attachment. Yeah, they're selling it now. So yeah, yeah.
So lesson to be learned to the analog community, that please check the source deeply before you share
Speculate, Well, no, speculation's a good thing.
Yeah, speculation is. Yeah.
Well, it's not speculation. It's hope. It's hope, and we need a bit of hope right now. So yeah, check your source.
Okay. Yep.
All right.
I think that's it. Thank you for being online with us, and thank you for going through the articles. Please go through them, and if there's something in your area that doesn't match, then send us an email. If there's something that matches, or you're finding it useful, then please share it, because a lot of people have put in a lot of work into making them real. So please use the resource. And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the questions. And keep up the discussion. This, just because the keynotes stop doesn't mean people can't still ask questions, and be passionate and be vocal about what you want to support, and support with your wallet. Go buy film, go buy cameras, and help us collate this information so that we can build a stronger, better market. And thank you all.
Thank you, guys.